There's Gabriel. So welcome to the node.js Node API team meeting for December 3rd, 2021. We'll follow our standard approach of looking at what we've tagged for milestone 11. Before we get started, does anybody have any announcements they'd like to share? If not, we will move on to the issues that were tagged. I guess the first one is ask for review of node serial port, node API port. I don't know if anybody has any updates on that. No updates. Sounds like it's, things are progressing. We figured it would be good to leave it on the agenda in case to keep some attention on it, but probably nothing to discuss this week. The next is the stale issues. So let's just look on there, and actually let me share my screen because I forgot to do that. Stale issues, there we go, okay. So I don't think there's been any added since the last time, but let's take a look at the ones we have open. Okay, so I don't know if there's anything new on this one. Like it sounds like we do have a fix, but we need to this is open to see if we can get to look at a better fix. Anything to talk about this week on this one? Okay, if not, let's look at the next one. This one, which is marking the methods of wrapperclass const, I think there has been some back and forth discussion based on the sort of discussion we said last week. And you can see, like, kind of, I think the take we took was that the logical state, the things like the JavaScript object would be considered part of the logical state. The original poster doesn't seem to completely agree with that. I kind of think it makes sense to me in that it's still like, even if you thought of like the pure C++ state, if it was something that was part of the state of the object, then I still kind of, I think I forget who it was who pointed it out in the last time. If you call a method on the object, call a const method, and then call that same method again, and nothing else is run, you expect to get the same answer. That's kind of what makes sense to me. I don't know if any other people have had any more thoughts based on the discussion.
I'm not sure we mentioned the item, and I was mentioning that the const method is considered to be iterative, but none of these methods, mostly they are not iterative because const method doesn't change anything. So it should be, in most cases, it should be considered as iterative. That's the point I mentioned last time, but I'm not sure if anyone mentioned the const function should return the same value.
Right, I think this is where I think I tried to explain that one. Right, like, so basically, but instead, that in turn result in a different answer when you call another method on the C++ object, if it gets the result from the related JavaScript object. I don't know if you think that covers that, Legendikas, or you want to, maybe you can add another comment in if you think you want to clarify a bit better.
I'm not sure. What's your question?
It was like you were saying, have we mentioned the aspect of like calling a method, getting getting an answer, then calling a const method and calling that original method again and expecting to get the same thing. And I think I'd covered it in that particular, like I've highlighted the section there, but if it's not communicating that, maybe you could add another comment in the issue to call that out.
Yeah, I think I can try to comment and state my point of view.
Okay, so that's probably good. I mean, we can continue on the discussion in there and the issues. See, 1026. So I think this one, the last comment was the one that you added, Gabriel, after a discussion in one of the meetings. I don't know if there's anything more we should discuss on that until there's a response, or I don't know, Gabriel, if you have any thoughts on that.
I agree. Yeah, let's wait for a response.
Okay, sounds good. All right, this one I think is just, yeah, we need to spend a bit more time. I don't know if anybody had a chance. I think we talked about that last week, and we just need to have some time to look at it and do some investigation. Okay. Was that this one I just looked at? No. Right, this one was waiting on this one, which we did merge last week, right? I think, Jack, you ended up merging that one?
Yep.
Okay, so that's good. So
yeah, I just did more digging into this issue.
okay.
So my changes merged in. This add-on will now throw an error saying an API defined property failed. And after looking more into it, looks like when we wrap an error thrown from V8 using that error wrapper code, the value is actually a type nappy null. So when we try to define a property with value nappy null on an object, the program crashes. But if we add a check in that error wrapper code, basically ignoring errors of type nappy null, this bug will disappear and like it will work inside the REPL. So
Okay,
I'm not.
so when you say nappy null,
Yeah, if you go to the implementation for the wrapper, error wrapper.
so so if I go to GitHub node add-on API, the INL.
Yeah, I know, and
Okay.
will be the error constructor.
Okay.
Yeah, this one. So pretty much that
Okay.
value. If we add a check saying, okay, if this value is a nappy null, we don't actually do anything to it, then we sort of swallow this error thrown from V8, and then REPL using that command line thing will work. But I'm not quite sure if that's the intended behavior.
So so basically something is trying to create an error, but the nappy value that they're passing is a null.
Yeah.
So what is the value in that constructor meant to be? Because otherwise but okay, I guess I'm not quite understanding. We already do a null check.
Oh yes, but like this check is to make sure the value isn't a null pointer, like a C++ null pointer. But
right.
But the value, like it could be have a value, but it's a type sort of nappy null inside of the V8. Yeah, like that.
Okay, so it's that, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So right, so they give us a value, but that value is null.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was created from V8 itself.
I believe so. I think it's thrown after we call the function from a function call.
Okay, and do we expect it to fail? Like, do we know what's actually failing?
I probably didn't look into it, but like I'm not quite sure.
Okay. I mean, I guess the answer is if the value is null, then
It's possible to run a normal JavaScript program to throw a null value as the exception, right? So we can't do anything when the caught exception value is a nappy null.
right. So basically what you're saying, you know, it would be a value is not equal to null pointer and, you know, this is, there'd be a call there that says it's not nappy, type is not nappy null.
I mean, in real world, we can throw null value as an exception, and we have to wrap the null value as the exception properly and feedback the value back to the JavaScript world.
Right. So I guess it's like, then this, is it the reference that's failing or, because this reference should still work, right?
Yeah, the reference works, but it fails when we try to attach that like nappy property descriptor using nappy defined properties, like right as of now.
Right, because that value from is what fails, right?
Yeah.
And that's because it's not an object, is it? Or
When I like, it looks like it's sort like the status that returned when we try to attach this flag is the descriptor is that it's an invalid argument. So it's probably within the C++, sorry, the C API that's giving us an error status.
right, so if we look at, right.
Yeah, you like nappy properties.
I wonder if
Why do we need the value from here? Because we already have an API value. So why don't we just say value here instead of value from and the value? Like we have a C structure, right? Which is then getting passed to the core API, right? If I remember correctly, at that field, the C structure expects an API value, right? We already have an API value. Then why do we have value : from and the value? Why not just value here?
Yeah, I think, yeah, that might be unnecessary, the conversion.
Yeah,
that probably won't change things though.
Yeah.
I don't know if it gets automatically cast back to a value when you mention it like this. So I know we have like an automatic cast from an API : value to an API _ value, but
Right.
I'm not sure does that get applied here? You know, that may be why the value is then invalid.
But that would fail in all cases, right? Like this seems like a specific case. And it's in the, it doesn't sound like it's in this conversion, right? It sounds like it's in the
Defined properties.
the defined properties. So that's worth trying, but I suspect this is just maybe extra work that we don't need versus.
Yeah.
So we can look at like like a property at a defined properties. Is it that it's not letting us set null for a property? Let's look.
Oh, yeah,
if I understand correctly, in the repo, when we previewing values, and the defined property will fail for the disallow JavaScript execution scope when the viet is detecting side effects, just like why we got why we run into this error is because we cannot run any JavaScript script in the scope. So
Yeah,
when we in the scope we calling a JavaScript script and it throws because we reject the execution, and we ended up in the nappy error construction, and in the nappy error construction we define properties, which is still coded into the JavaScript.
Yep.
So it fails.
Okay, so this is still failing for a reasonable reason.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. What Lucas is saying is definitely correct. But I think also if the value is null, then an API defined properties may also fail. And I think we're on the right path with checking the implementation, because I think at least one of those things has to be non-null, because otherwise you cannot define a property where everything is null. There's no method, there's no accessors, there's no value, there's nothing. That's not the property. I mean, you would think it should be string and undefined, but I don't know if it makes the leap from like null to undefined, like the implementation.
Yeah, we have to check that. But to my understanding, we can define a property with a value to be JavaScript value now.
Right.
So,
yes.
Which is what we're trying to do,
so,
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So is it that we need to handle like this basic says nappy fatal if failed? Is it that we need to actually say, no, it's not fatal if this fails? You know, we want to report the error that says, like, we just want to say, okay, well, we couldn't like take the error that we got when we called that. Because I guess that when we call that, there should be a pending exception returned, right?
Yes.
And do we want to basically take the info from that exception instead at that point?
You know, if JavaScript execution is not allowed, then I'm not sure that we can do much, honestly. Right? Because like, yes, you can take that exception and report it how JavaScript execution is not allowed. So you cannot return to JavaScript and have the exception be thrown and processed and stuff.
So what's running in the REPL then, though? Like the REPL's running, but then it's somehow telling us you shouldn't run JavaScript?
It's previewing. It's previewing the evaluation results. And like say, it will try to calling the function. And if it's a native function, it will call a native function, and the native function is disallowed to execute JavaScript since the previewing doesn't want to cause any side effects. It's just previewing. Like say where the wrapper will show what you type when you type a property, it will show the value of the property.
Okay.
So it's calling one of our methods.
Yeah, but
a native method. Okay.
I just checked that when we creating the native method, we have a flag that telling V8 our method has side effects. I'm not sure why V8 is still calling the native methods for previewing. That's what I'm not sure. And if there is a problem with it, we have to fix it in the core.
Yeah. How would we fix this? Like, one thing that pops into my mind is that we need to distinguish between not being able to run JavaScript and pending exception. Right now, we get pending exception if JavaScript execution is not allowed, right?
I was mentioning that when we creating the nappy function, we should create the corresponding V8 function, right? When we creating V8 function, there is a parameter to set if this function has side effects. And we have already set the flag to tell V8 that this function has side effects, and V8 should not call this function when previewing in the repo. So when we didn't call this function in the repo, then all of these problems is gone, and we don't have to fix it in this awkward situation.
Mm. So, okay, so then we have to make this change in core. Am I understanding that correctly?
I think
Yeah,
Lucian
we
is
have to
saying
make
we've already.
sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we have to make sure if there is any problem with V8 or with our setting of the V8 function.
Yes, okay, I see. So the problem may be in V8 that it's ignoring this flag.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's really ignoring the flag or it's intentional, but I'm not sure. So we have to check on it.
Okay.
Okay, so based 1075 has landed. But we still see an error as on. I guess it's like preview.
Yeah, right, preview the result of the function.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And I guess, like, would it be worth trying to mention somebody here to ask about that, or do we need to do some more investigation ourselves? What do we think a good
I'm
next
not
step
sure, but it's worth investigating ours. Maybe I can investigate it
is? Okay.
with my best.
Well, one thought that comes to mind is, what if the REPL doesn't heed the fact that we said that it doesn't heed the flag, it calls the method anyway, even though we said it has side effects, right? Like the REPL implementation is on top of V8. Does it consult V8 saying, is it okay to call this method for preview purposes? If it doesn't consult V8 and unconditionally calls the method, then that could be a problem with the V8 implementation.
Yeah, right. But if I recall correctly, the REPL is using V8's API to previewing the results. So that was to investigate, but I didn't have a look onto the REPL code for a long time, so we have to double check that.
Okay, all right, cool, understood.
Okay, that sounds good. It sounds like you've got a pretty concrete next step, and if you have a chance to look at it, that sounds good. So can look at, I think that takes us to the end of the things we'd marked as stale, so that's good. Tracking issue for module we've no supported. I don't see anything new there. Let me just. Usually just take a quick look to see the general trend. So it looks like we went up, then we went back down. So not quite sure the result of that, but still 5 million downloads a week is pretty high number. Let's see. Let's look at the next one is the drive towards full coverage. So Jack, any updates on that front?
Nothing, but I think I sent you guys the blog draft last week, so you guys can take a look.
Yeah, is that a link we can bring up? Because I think in the end there was a link, right?
It was an email, I think. Was it? It's like a Word doc, but I can put in like a Google Docs if possible.
Somehow I managed to link on, like I made it some comments on something. Now, what I might have done is like accidentally created my own Google Doc and commented on that.
Yeah.
Which might not have helped you. So yeah, I wasn't quite sure. Let's see.
A Google Doc would definitely make it easier to review and comment.
Let me see if I can find that, and then, because yeah, I commented it, but I think I was a little unsure where that went. What would that have been called? That would have been called test. Sorry, I'm just gonna see if I can find this.
Oh, Deepak is on.
Oh,
the.
Okay. Thanks. Where, okay, I gotta find the participants. There we go. Okay, because yeah, let me see if I could find this one and share it. It might just be a way to quickly get there. This is like a blog post, make blog. Okay. Right, here it is. Okay, so share. Let me find the. Sorry, I'm just finding our invites. Maybe I won't do that on screen to share everybody's emails, although actually that's not going to be in there either. Okay, let me see. I think I can add. Right. Jack, yeah. Okay. Nicola and my yeah. Sorry, I'm just checking. Who else? Kevin, right, Kevin. Kevin, right, so. Okay, so you should all get an invite to this doc, which I think was like when I opened the doc because I didn't have the WordPerfect Word installed, it created me a doc. So anyway, shared that with everybody, and I made a few I made a few suggestions, and probably other people should be able to get in there and make suggestions as well. And then in the end, we can end up with a doc we can ask to be published.
Thanks.
Okay. So that's on that front. I have not done that. Deepak, anything you want to discuss on the work in terms of being able to more easily run the tests?
Actually, Kevin had a inference. He said that the test should be exiting with the error code. If the unit tests are failing, he was saying that the exit code right now is 0 and it should be changed to 1. So
Definitely.
Yeah. So
was that something I assume we were returning with 1 before, like, because our CI jobs fail when they fail?
Well, that's the CI part, right? That's the actual unit test when you run. But when running single test,
right.
I'm not
yes.
sure.
Okay. Yeah. Running the single test, it would also be good. Okay.
Okay.
So that's the one thing you need to fix up there, and then hopefully we're ready to land. It sounds like.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about on that front?
No, nothing else.
No. Okay. Yeah. So let's then just look at see if there's any. No, I'm in the wrong place. Actually, yeah, there's one more, but it would be good actually to come and look there for a second. So that in a second. Node.js API. Do we have any other new? I don't think I see anything new or to discuss there. Okay, I don't know what this is. Okay, well, I guess that's just a question to be, if somebody had time to go in and answer. This one in terms of the documentation. I was wondering if we managed to miss updating the documentation, although I haven't had a chance to look, so. So I guess it's worth highlighting for, if people have a chance to take a look at the doc and say, did we somehow let the documentation get out of sync?
This may be the case that they are both correct, because I remember adding overrides where you can pass the getter and the setter as a template parameter to reduce stack size.
Okay.
Let me just see. We're talking about the instance act.
Right, so this is in the example, right?
Yeah, we have an override where the getter and the setter are passed as template parameters, and the setter's default is null pointer, and so it is possible to write code where the getter is getting passed as the sole template parameter.
Okay,
and then you have just the name. So this is, both of those are legal.
Okay.
Let me check the docs if they're both documented.
Right, so it's like, then the question is, do we need to update the documentation? Which may not. Constructor. Oops.
Oh, we have them documented. It's in InstanceWrap MD.
Okay, so let me find that.
Yeah, just up one directory.
Okay,
Yeah, and then InstanceWrap MD. Yeah, this is the common base class for add-on and object wrap. Yeah, here it
okay.
is.
Okay. Right, so the question. Right. So, but if we look here, is it? I guess from the documentation, is that class, is that obvious? Because so maybe there's a like, is it reasonable that like from this, I don't see anywhere that you would know to go and look for the methods in the parent class?
That's true. Yeah, there should be at the top. There should be like a class hierarchy type thing.
In the top of this, or you mean?
Yeah, at the top of this document. Yeah, because like all the other documents say like this class serves as the base class for this and that. So there's kind of a object hierarchy, but not like a diagram or anything. It's just a blurb about how the classes relate.
Right. Right, so we're missing, this is a subclass of.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Okay, so. Can I get back to where I was typing? No, okay, I'm just trying to see if I can get back to there.
I don't know why anybody would use this, because we have like instance accessor and instance value and all those. Why would anybody use these property descriptors directly?
They're in our documentation and example. Is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, maybe these are an obsolete. Did we always have all the other things? Like maybe it's a bad example too, right? Like.
Well, the example, I don't see where in the example it actually creates an object of this type. Nice example init. Okay, go to example init. Yeah, it just define class, and then you have instance accessor. Yeah, so okay, I mean the type exists, yes, but the type is produced using methods that are class specific, like instance accessor returns one of these, yes, but you do not create these directly. You create them using instance accessor and instance value and static accessor, static value, and that's what creates these things. So I don't know that it's possible to use them directly. So like if you look at the call to define class, yes, you could have like a property descriptor defined at the top and then pass it to define class, but everybody just does it in line. So you know, you could store a value, you could store the return value of instance accessor and then pass that return value into defined class if you really wanted to.
So is that the other thing that we should base constructor? So we're missing the line that says, hey, this is subclass. And then
Yeah,
it also sounds like we should add to that constructor part that says, and generally people don't use this directly. They create instances this other way.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that now that I read this more in detail, I'm not sure that it makes sense to mention that it is a subclass, because it's not a subclass of anything. It's kind of a helper class that's defined in object wrap, and it's templated to the subclass so that they have no common types for different object wraps. So it's safe in that sense. But it's not otherwise part of any sort of class hierarchy. It's just a helper class.
But are the two methods like, it sounds like, you know, if we look at this doc, it says this is a constructor, right? And then, but we're saying there's this as well. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing though. Like instance successor.
Yeah.
Where is that?
Yeah, not here, right? Because instance accessor produces a class property descriptor templated to the class in which instance accessor is being called. So an instance accessor is documented in what is that? InstanceWrap MD.
So yeah, let me.
So
it's not a common base class though. It's so.
No, it is. It is a common base class for object wrap and for add-on.
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess it's the, they came, they came to this page and look at the documentation and say, okay, well, this is the constructor or something.
Yeah. Okay. I think the way we could open this page, this class property and descriptor, or this class property descriptor, would be to say that this is a helper class produced by instance accessor and then linked to instance accessor, and you know, that would basically keep this documentation valid, but it would sort of strongly hint that people should be using instance accessor to produce these things rather than produce them by hand.
Right. Okay. So what makes sense is to open the section by, what was it you're saying it should say?
To open the section by saying that this is a helper class produced by the object or the instance wrap methods, such as instance accessor, instance value, and so forth. Yeah, honestly, I think it's instance wrap and object wrap, because if you want like a static, if you want a property descriptor for a static property, then that would be object wrap, because instance wrap doesn't have static. Yeah.
Would you possibly be willing to?
Yeah, change the docs.
Someone,
I can probably do that.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. That's good. Okay, I don't see any other. See anything that's particularly new. Sorry, let's I just want to just click on that one. Nope. So just looking here. Okay, I see you just answered that, Gabriel, 22 minutes ago. So looks like discussion on that's carrying on. So probably nothing to talk about.
Yeah, I'm basically asking them to just handle their own exceptions because we don't know how to translate any old standard exception into an API error. That, you know, I was thinking like we could write a handler for it and just use the what method to produce a string and then turn that into an API error. But if somebody's not happy with that, now we're going to have to give them a way to override that and produce their own. So they might as well just produce their own to start
Right.
with.
Okay. Sounds good. I want to find labels here. Issues, labels. Okay. I have, oh, we didn't want closed. We just want opened. I don't see anything too new there to discuss either. The one last thing I thought, I don't know if there's any others that people want to call out, but I had the one last thing I thought we could look at is actually go through the 20 issues that we have, because we're down to a fairly small number. And I just wonder if we could maybe in reverse order go back and say, like, should we just close some of these because they're so old or stale or something like that? Does that make sense to people? The last 5 minutes.
Okay.
So this is like nappy APIs should handle out of memory better. So this was quite old. Pervasive use of news throughout the code base, core code base, checking notice report.
So for this situation, this pervasive use of new, we actually had a leak related to this like 2 years ago, where we were creating the wrappers for moving or for promoting an API call we were receiving into a node add-on API call to the user. And those things needed to be free. They needed to get attached, I think, to the function so that they get freed along with the function. And I think that that addresses some of the leaks, but I don't know if there are any others left where we use new and then we never free it.
This question is really like, should we go through all the APIs and make a push to fix this?
Right.
Or, you know, handle it ad hoc is kind of the, we haven't done anything for 3 years, going on 4 years. So I'm just wondering, like, is it useful having this still be open?
Yeah, handling out of memory is pretty much ad hoc no matter what, because you might run out of memory just trying to handle out of memory since you're out of memory. You know, it's one of those situations.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know that we can handle this in place. If we can handle this in place, then maybe, but it's a long-winded investigation, I suspect.
Right. I'm like, you know, I'd be like, we haven't worked on this for 3 years, so.
And there hasn't been any demand
closing.
for it. Yeah,
Right.
there hasn't been any demand for it either. Like people saying that we need to handle this.
That sound reasonable? Any objections to closing it with that?
Or maybe please reopen if that is not the right, if that was not the right thing to do, but you know, just to remind people that they can reopen issues. But I think other than that, this is the way to go.
Okay, I'm not sure everybody can reopen.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah, okay, never mind.
I'm
Then,
just
then
saying,
yeah,
like, let us know and then we'll reopen it.
yeah,
so.
yeah.
Okay.
Or just open another issue. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so that's that one. This one actually will be closed. I have that one PR, so that actually will close that. So these two are like just our tracking issues. This one, add async example to ABI stable node add-on examples.
I don't know. Did we ever add this? Let's see.
So async example. So is what it's now called, right?
Yep.
So like we have async work, async py, async work thread safe
This
function.
is an API make callback, right? Yeah, no, we don't have that. We don't have this yet.
Okay, so this is still something that you think makes sense?
Yeah. Be nice if somebody could we like attach like good first issue, because although I don't know, an API make callback is more for people who have used an API make callback to write
Would
an
it make
example.
sense to open an issue in the add-on examples repo instead?
Yeah. But yeah, or maybe
So
move the issue. You can move issues with GitHub.
yeah, okay, that's okay. So let's do that. That's a good one. Where is move issue? I know I can move it.
Transfer issue towards the bottom
Transfer
left of your
issue, right?
screen.
Yeah, okay. Okay,
There it
yeah,
is.
that makes sense. So, because like it's getting no attention in the current
Yeah.
repo is and that's where like I think, you know, we should really be down to just the ones that we're looking at actively. So
Yep.
retrieve the finalizer for an object.
Huh. Interesting. Well, I suppose. Yeah, can you check where this came from? It doesn't. It seems to have sort of petered out. Like, yes, it would be nice,
Right.
but we have
Some ideas, yeah.
Yeah, we have type tagging now, right? So it's pretty fail safe with type tagging, you know, to make sure that you have the right
Okay.
type. This would have been an alternative, is to retrieve the finalizer and then compare finalizers and
Okay.
decide that it's of a certain type that way. Yeah.
Okay. So that sounds good. Okay, additional native. So I think there's been a few discussions around this, but I think in the end, we never decided to do anything.
Right. Yeah, we had this. Yeah, it seems to have worked out without needing all this. There were a few cases where people needed more information from the module, but it's most people are fine with just having the exports. I think I have to drop off soon.
Yeah, okay.
So I'll talk to y'all next week.
Thanks.
Yep. Bye all.
Close that one. And we are at time. Actually, we're over time. So thanks everybody for sticking around a little bit longer, but maybe we should close out this week. And we will maybe continue to go through the list next time. Okay, thanks to everybody. We'll see everybody later.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye.